Picture a comfortable Victorian dining room. A scientist is explaining a bizarre new theory to his dinner guests. Time is actually the fourth dimension. It's a kind of space, and just like physical space, we can build a machine to move through it. In the 1890s, the intellectual elite took human progress for granted. They assumed civilization would climb an endless upward trajectory. But a young writer named H.G. Wells looked at the social inequality of his era and imagined a much darker outcome. Exactly 1 week later, the dinner party is interrupted. The scientist stumbles through the doorway, limping, covered in dirt, and bleeding. He collapses into a chair and eats like a starving man. Then he begins to describe a journey that shatters the warmth of their comfortable evening. He had traveled over 800,000 years into the future, and what he saw there completely broke his faith in humanity. He tells them how he pushed the lever on his machine forward. Days flashed by like seconds, blurring into a continuous band of light, until he slammed to a halt in the year 802,701 AD, right next to a massive, decaying white sphinx. The descendants of humanity are a species called the Eloi. They live in a sunlit, pastoral paradise, but they are physically frail, passive, and possess the intelligence of small children. The scientist forms a hypothesis. He assumes that humanity conquered nature completely. With no diseases or predators left to fight, physical strength and intellect simply became obsolete. But then the sun sets. The Eloi huddle together, terrified of the dark. And when the scientist returns to the Sphinx, his time machine is gone, dragged inside the hollow pedestal. His initial theory was flawed. Absolute safety caused biological decay. Without a struggle to survive, this society became helpless against unseen threats lurking just out of sight. To find his machine, he has to descend into a dark metallic well. He climbs down into absolute blackness, guided only by the flickering light of a single match. Beneath the surface, he discovers a second species, the Morlocks. They are pale, ape-like creatures that shrink from the light, living among massive, thudding engines. He realizes these underground monsters are maintaining the paradise above. They operate the machinery that creates the clothing and harvests the food for the Eloi. This diagram illustrates exactly what happened over hundreds of thousands of years. The Victorian class divide became biological. The wealthy elite evolved into the frail Eloi above ground, while the brutalized working class became the nocturnal Morlocks below. But the power dynamic inverted. The Morlocks aren't serving the Eloi out of loyalty. They are treating them like fatted cattle, harvesting them for meat. Natural selection has no moral compass. Systemic inequality simply bred a literal predator-prey relationship right out of the human genome. Trapped in the woods at night, the scientist fights off a Morlock swarm with a makeshift club and a handful of matches. A forest fire erupts in the chaos, and his only Eloi companion perishes in the flames. He forces his way back to the White Sphinx, barely surviving a final Morlock ambush. He reaches his machine, throws the lever, and escapes the timeline. But he pushes the machine even further forward. Millions of years pass. The machine stops on a freezing beach beneath a bloated, dying red sun. Humanity is extinct. There are no Eloi, no Morlocks. The only life left on the silent earth are giant, grotesque crabs scuttling in the cold. This is cosmic entropy. Despite all our societal arrogance, human existence is temporary and ultimately irrelevant against the vast timeline of the universe. Back in the Victorian drawing room, he finishes his story. His intellectual friends laugh it off. To them, it's nothing more than a clever trick or a gaudy lie. Traumatized by what he's seen and disgusted by their complacency, the scientist packs a camera, steps back into his laboratory, and disappears into time forever. H.G. Wells wrote The Time Machine as a warning. If a society blindly exploits its own people, the future it builds will eventually consume it.